Bonjour et bienvenue. Hello and welcome. Today in this lecture, we are going to learn about the accents in the French language. And this lecture is the part 1 of the French accents. Alright, so now let's talk about the French accents. French has the same alphabets as in English, but some French letters have a little decorations that can make them look and sound very different. And I want you to keep in mind that the accents are essential in French. They are implemented for a reason, so you must include them when writing. Alright? I will be telling you all the reasons that why the accents are essential in the French language in this lecture itself. Alright? So stick to this lecture till the end. Alright, now let's talk about the topics that we are going to discuss in today's lecture. So initially we will discuss about the accents in the French language. After discussing about the accents in the French language, we will move on to the homophones. So we will discuss about the homophones in detail in this lecture. After discussing about the homophones, we will move on to the French accents on the keyboard. After discussing about the French accents on the keyboard, I will be showing you the list of vocabulary that I have used in this lecture, so that you can pause the video for a while and note down that list in your vocabulary notebook. Alright? So before entering into this lecture, I want you to keep in mind that there are 5 different accents to learn in French. But as this lecture is the part 1, so we will be discussing about the 2 French accents. Alright, so now let's get started. So here on the screen, I have taken some French words. At this moment, you don't have to worry about the pronunciations and the meaning of these French words. Here in the first French word, if you will observe, on this letter E, there is a small tilted line that is going from left to right. Now, if you will observe this second French word, you will find that on this letter E, there is a small tilted line that is going from right to left. Now, if you will observe this third French word, you will find that these tilted lines are placed in different directions on the alphabet E and on the alphabet A. And finally, in this fourth French word, you will find that we have placed these tilted lines going in different directions on the same alphabet, that is E. So, what are these tilted lines? These tilted lines are called as accents, and in French we call them as les accents. I am repeating the pronunciation once more. Les accents. Alright? Les accents means the accents. Alright, now let's discuss about these accents in more detail. There are different words in French that requires different accents, and this is the reason that sometimes you see these tilted lines going in one way and sometimes the other. Well, the different directions of these tilted lines have a purpose. So make sure that whenever you see it, you have to write it properly and you need to read it properly, because every accent has different sounds as well as different meanings. So to understand about the different sounds, different meanings and the usage of these accents, let's talk about each of these accents one by one. Alright? Now let's concentrate on the very first accent, that is accent aigu. Accent aigu is also called as acute accent. So the accent aigu looks like this. So the direction of the accent aigu goes from left to right. Alright? Now let's talk about this accent in more detail. So talking about the very first point, the accent aigu is only used on the letter E. So according to the point number 1, we cannot place the accent aigu on any other alphabet except E. So to make the point number 1 more clear, I have taken some examples. Now, if you will observe all these examples very carefully, you will find that accent aigu is only placed on the alphabet E. Check out the first example. In this word, accent aigu is placed on the alphabet E. In the second example also, accent aigu is placed on the alphabet E. And in the third example also, accent aigu is placed on the alphabet E. So I hope that the point number 1 is clear to you and you don't have to worry about these examples, okay? We will come back to these examples when we will discuss about the point number 3. Alright, now let's talk about the point number 2. So the point number 2 states that placement of this accent, beginning, middle or end of the word. So according to the point number 2, accent aigu can be placed in the beginning, in the middle or at the end of the word. So to have a better understanding of the point number 2, kindly observe these examples once more. So in this first example, you will find that accent aigu is placed at the end of the word. Now, if you will observe this second example, you will find that accent aigu is placed in the middle of the word and also at the end of the word. Now, if you will observe this third French example, you will find that accent aigu is placed in the beginning of a word. Alright? So that's all about the point number 2. Now let's talk about the point number 3. So the point number 3 states that the role of this accent aigu is to change the pronunciation of the letter E. Now the point number 3 is really very important. The function of accent aigu is to change the pronunciation of the letter E. So whenever there is an accent aigu on the letter E, the sound of this letter is modified and it becomes A. A. Alright, observe it carefully. A. So to make the sound of this accent more clear, kindly observe these examples once more. So check out this first example. In French it is pronounced as le café. Le café. Le café. So if you will observe the pronunciation, you will find that because of this accent aigu, there is a sound of A in the last. Le café. Café. So there is a sound of A in the last. So le café means the coffee. Alright. Now let's check out the second example. It is pronounced as le bébé. Le bébé. Le bébé. It means the baby. So le bébé means the baby. Now check out the third example. In French it is pronounced as l'école. 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 L'école means the school. So that's all about the accent aigu, and I really hope that all these points are clear to you. And now let's talk about another accent in French, that is accent grave. I am repeating the name once again. Accent grave. So accent grave looks like this, and the direction of this tilted line goes from right to left. Alright, now let's discuss about this accent in more details. So starting from the point number 1, the accent grave is used on the letters E, A, and U. So according to the point number 1, accent grave can only be placed on the letters E, A, and U. And here I want you to pay attention towards the sound of this accent. Whenever there is an accent grave on the letter E, the sound of the letter E is changed and it becomes A. A. Observe it very carefully. I am repeating it once again. It is A. Alright. So now if we compare between the sounds of accent aigu and accent grave, you will observe that it is A for accent aigu and A for accent grave. So I am repeating it once more. It is A for accent aigu and A for accent grave. I hope you are able to find out the difference. And now the most important point to note here is that the sound of the letter A and U does not change with the accent grave. I am repeating it once more. The sound of the letter A and U does not change with the accent grave. The change in the sound is observed only in case of letter E. So to make you clear with the point number 1, I have taken some examples. So if you will observe all these examples here, you will find that accent aigu is only placed on the alphabets E, A, and U. So I really hope that the point number 1 is clear to you. Now let's talk about the pronunciation of these examples. So have a look at the very first example. In French it is pronounced as le frère. Le frère. Le frère. Le frère means the brother. Alright, now check out the second example. It is pronounced as déjà. 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 So déjà is a French word which means already. Alright, now check out the third example. So in French it is pronounced as où. 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 It means where. Okay. So after going through all these examples, we can clearly conclude that the sound of the alphabet A and U does not change with the accent grave. Alright. So I really hope that the point number 1 is clear to you. Now let's talk about the point number 2. Placement of this accent. So we can place this accent before a silent E in the middle of a word. For example, khem, 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 which means cream. Another example is problème, 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 which means problem. Another example is thème, 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 which means theme. And we can also place this accent at the end of a word before a silent S. For example, après, 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 which means after. Another example is très, 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 it means very. Another example is succès. 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 It means success. So if you will observe these three examples here, you will find that accent grave is placed in the middle of the word. And if you will observe these three examples here, you will find that accent grave is placed at the end of the word before a silent S. Alright, so I really hope that the point number 2 is clear to you. So now let's talk about the point number 3. So the point number 3 states that the accent grave is also used to differentiate between the homophones. So the point number 3 is really very important. In French, accent grave is also used to differentiate between the homophones. Now, what are homophones and how exactly this accent is used to differentiate between the homophones? So it's time to answer all these questions. So initially, let's talk about what are homophones. Homophones are the words that have the same pronunciation but different meanings and sometimes spellings. Therefore, French homophones can cause difficulties in oral comprehension and spellings. So homophones are the words that have the same pronunciation but different meanings and sometimes spellings as well. Now, being a French language instructor, I can definitely confirm that French intrinsically has quite a lot of homophones. And believe me, this is the reason that French homophones can cause difficulties in oral comprehension and spellings. Now, to make you clear about how exactly accent grave can be used to differentiate between the homophones, I have taken some very commonly used examples. So have a look at the very first pair of homophones, that is a, which means to, versus a, which means has. Now, if you will observe, we have differentiated these homophones with the accent grave. Check out the first one. So here we have the accent grave on the alphabet A, and in the second one, there is no accent grave. But another very important thing to note here is that both the words are having the same pronunciation, but the meanings are totally different. So I hope that the first pair of homophones are clear to you. Now let's talk about the second pair of homophones, that is la, which means there, versus la, which means the. So here also you can observe in the first one, we have the accent grave on the alphabet A, but in the second one there is no accent grave, and the pronunciation of both the words are same, but the meanings are totally different. Now let's talk about the third pair of homophones, that is they, which means as soon as or from, versus they, which means some. So here also we can observe that pronunciation of both the words are same, but the meanings are totally different, right? So I really hope it is clear that how accent grave can actually differentiate between the homophones. So here we are done with the homophones. Now, before moving on to the next topic, there is a very important and very interesting fact waiting for you all. So according to this fact, in French, there could be a lot of different possible meanings of a word in different contexts. So we have already seen this thing in English also. There are many words that spell the same, but they differ in the meaning as per the usage. To understand this thing in a better way, let's take an example in English. Suppose we take a word back in English. Now suppose if I say, I have a pain in the back. So back is acting as a noun here. Now suppose if I say, I will come back in 5 minutes. Now the word back is acting as an adverb here. So in both these sentences, back is used in a complete different context. The same thing is observed in French also. Alright? So I really hope that this interesting fact is clear to you. Now suppose if you want to type something in French, whether it be an email or letter or anything directly from your keyboard, then you might get stuck with the accents. So here are the key codes to type the accent aigu and accent grave on the keyboard. So you can pause the video for a while and note them down. So I really hope that you have copied the key codes. Now I will show you the list of vocabulary that I have used in this lecture, and I would encourage you all to note down this list in your vocabulary notebook. Thank you.